Okay, the next document up is the Sykes Picot Agreement, which was made in 1916. So there's a little bit of the questions already getting into. To really get a good handle on this and really some of the other documents, you're going to want to watch the video clip right here. So please watch that clip. Remember to only do 6:55 to 11:39. If you want more information for the other two documents, you may want to watch more than that. That's okay. So do that now. I'll wait. Pause this video and go watch this one. Okay, hopefully you really did go and watch it. It'll make understanding this a lot easier when you look at the Sykes Picot, and it's going to give you a lot more background. Okay, so here's what the context for this document is. Sykes Picot Agreement, which was signed on May 9th, 1916, was a secret agreement between the French and British governments to divide up the Ottoman Empire between the two of them at the end of World War I. Sounds like, didn't we already make an agreement with the Arabs to do some of this? Okay, so already we're starting to see the British double dealing. The Russian government later agrees to the arrangement, and that is the Russian government pre-revolution, the government of the Tsars. Okay, and this is a secret agreement, as it says up here. Okay, a secret agreement. Okay, the agreement was solidified with the drawing of a map by Sir Mark Sykes representing Great Britain and Sir Francis Georges Picot of France. That's these two guys here. A little bit more on them in a moment. The secret arrangement conflicted the promises given to Sir Henry McMahon in his correspondence with Hussein bin Ali, who had been about to bring the Arabs of Hejaz into the revolt against the Turks, on the understanding that the Arabs would eventually receive a much more important share of the fruits of victory. In 1917, the Bolsheviks took control of the Russian government. They pulled their country out of World War II and discovered the Sykes-Picot Agreement. They published it, and revealing the Europeans' ambitions in the Middle East to the rest of the world. So, let's go down and we'll do the chart here on the pre-reading. So, who created this? British diplomat Mark Sykes, French diplomat Francis Georges Picot. There's much more information on those two. In the video, it was, as it says, written in 1916. It is a primary source, and it is a treaty. Who was the audience? Probably the British and French governments, because this is a secret deal. It wasn't something that they were going to publish until after the war, because they had to win the war first for it to go into effect. The authors. Sykes is a British advisor to the Middle East. He is upper class, and he speaks neither Arab or Turkish. So that's a little bit about him. His perspective is definitely of British imperialist. And Picot is really the same, except for he's a French imperialist. And this, again, was written during World War I. Okay. So if we slide down and we look at our maps, where are our maps? There's our maps, okay? The two maps really divide everything up. And we've got, this is the map of the treaty here, the one with the A and B on it, the slightly larger, the one on the right. Above is a map of the historical cultural zones of the region concerning the Sykes-Picot Agreement. Okay, each color in the map represents an area where one cultural group had traditionally lived, and these groups had similar histories, ethnicities, languages, and religion. And we might think that maybe they don't all get along real well. At least in some cases, they may not get along real well. The original map drawn by Sykes and Picot on May 8, 1916 is over here on the right. Their signatures on the bottom right-hand corner are right down here. Okay, I think that says Sykes. No, that's Picot, and Sykes is right next to it. Okay. Their signatures on the bottom right-hand corner. The dark blue section, this area here, all around. This is the Red Sea here. Here is Mecca and Medina down here. The territory controlled by the Sharif of Mecca is in the yellow, and the blue, the blue is to be French. The red is to be British. And I actually went down a little bit farther. This is the Mediterranean, and this is modern day Israel. Okay, so according to the map, the French get control of the blue, and the red gets to the British. And then you have these A and B zones are what they're going to call a sphere of influence for each group. And then the yellow section will be under international administration. This is the area around what is modern day Israel. Okay, so let's look at our questions based on this. Red and blue sections already went over with you. Okay, and so there, the blue is French, red is British. A is the French sphere, B is the British sphere. That is question 2. If we look at question 3, which it kind of jumps over onto 2 maps for me, compare the historical cultural zones. Which cultural zones are divided by the lines drawn by the British? You can see quite a lot of them are, because this is kind of the line right here that it runs along up into this territory. So quite a few of these, you're going to split up people of ethnicities. You're not going to be all within the same country, which is sometimes a problem. And then in the British zone, they're going to have more Iraqi Arabs, but they're also going to have some other groups in there also. So the effects of these, as I said before, you might have people who historically do not like each other. You could be lumping them into a country together where they're apt to cause problems. You could have a series of civil wars, and we've seen some of that play out in the Middle East, especially over the last 10 or 15 years in Iraq, where you've had different factions of people, Sunni and Shia Islam. In Syria and Lebanon, there are several different factions. They're all Muslims. You also have Kurds involved in here and several other groups. And it's really caused a lot of infighting. So the purpose for writing the document. The purpose was to divide up the territory into British and French controlled territories based on their imperial interests. Okay, the territories where they already had significant interests. You saw on the British map that this is really the territory that was talked about in the McMahon letter of Basra and Baghdad. The French had always had long-term interests in southern Turkey and what is modern-day Syria, especially along the northern parts. So that was already there, and along Lebanon, there'd been a long history of French incursion into there. And then these other territories, the British, for the most part, really wanted to be able to connect their territory of Iraq and Basra here with what is a little farther to the east, the Suez Canal, which was talked about in the document. So they wanted to be able to have free reign through this territory to maybe build a railroad or something like that across this territory. Okay, and they also, kept some of the best, most fertile land and stuff like that for themselves also, conveniently. All right, and left the Arabs desert. Now, reliability of the document. This is a secret deal, so the reliability of anything that they published might have been suspect. And because it's a secret deal, when the Russians bring it out, it causes a big hoopla. So that one there, the author's purpose, it does impact the reliability because it's something that was secret and designed to not be known until after the war. All right, so that's document 2. I'll be back shortly with document 3.